Welcome to the Mind Design Sports Podcast. I'm Brandon, and in each episode, I'll be talking about sports psychology with the guest speaker. If you want to design your sports experience, you've come to the right place. If you want more tips and insights on how to improve your sports performance mentally, check out our website and other podcasts at mind-designsports.com. Hello, everyone. I have a very special guest today with me, Noemi Neubaurova. She's on the women's ice hockey team at Colgate University and has played on the Czech Republic IIHF, also known as International Ice Hockey Federation World Cup team 3 times. On Colgate's team, she's helped them reach Eastern College Athletic Conference championship status as well. She's a phenomenal player, and I thought that would be great to hear from her tips on how to balance playing at a higher level of sports while still in college. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Is there anything else you'd like to introduce about yourself that I didn't touch on?
No, you covered it pretty well. I mean, yeah, that was good.
Awesome. My first question is, how did you get into ice hockey, and tell me what really makes you love the sport? Is it unique compared to other traditional sports, or is there something like unique, like interesting about it that you find?
Yeah. So I started playing when I was like 6 years old, I think, and I don't know, we were just kind of skating with my kindergarten class. So that's when I was really introduced to skating for the first time, and I really liked it. And I thought that like I wasn't really bad at it either. And I loved watching hockey on TV. And one of my very good friends that I play with now for Team Czech actually played. She's 5 years older than me, but we played like in the same hometown, and she was really good. So I just kind of loved seeing her play, and that's how I kind of got into hockey. And ever since then, it's been a great journey. It's been amazing. I mean, I don't even. It's funny to like ask like what's so passionate about it, but I feel like right now it like almost became like a routine and a lifestyle
Yeah.
almost that I can't even imagine my life without it. Honestly, it has brought me pretty much everywhere, like college in the States and just a bunch of different
Yeah.
places, like countries and world tournaments or the Olympics. And so I don't know, I just enjoy it. It's been part of my day almost pretty much every day.
Awesome. Isn't there another type of hockey like not on ice? I remember like my friends play that.
Yeah, field hockey.
Oh yeah.
Never played it before
Oh wow.
actually. Yeah,
Really?
yeah, it was straight into hockey. Yeah, ice
Do they have
hockey.
a big differences between the two?
Um, well, from and I don't really have experience with field hockey,
Okay.
obviously, but
Yeah.
yeah, the stakes and everything, it looks very different to me, and the rules too. So I don't really know.
Awesome. My next question is, what's the differences? I mean, similarities and differences between playing in like America, like Colgate, versus like in Czech, like different countries and traveling. Are there any big differences?
Well, this is kind of a hard question to answer, but when I played in Czech, when I started playing in Czech, I played with guys only.
Oh,
And then
okay.
when I went to the States, I played with girls, starting high school. So when it comes to playing with girls and guys, like that's just like it's very different styles of play. I feel like guys are more physical, faster, but also a little more like straightforward and not as like creative with their play. I think
Okay.
like women's hockey is very like a lot of I'm not saying strategy doesn't go into men's hockey at all, but that's not what I'm saying. But it's more like since you can't hit too or body check, it's a lot
Oh,
like
I
it's
see.
very different
Yeah.
style of play. But then if I were to compare also playing like college hockey in the States and then playing international with women's, that's I would say also there's little differences. I'd say with the international games, it's a lot faster and physical too. Yeah.
Gotcha. Also, like, I'm guessing like you played against guys in like the US because like, um, I mean, sorry, overseas because there's not a lot of like,
Mhm.
girls playing that sport. Like, I know a lot of sports like in the US, um, they have like different like guys and girls. Like, for example, at my school,
Mhm.
there's like flag football for the girls. What's your experience playing with guys? Like, was it intimidating, or was it like, did it like challenge you more, or did you just not like it?
It was very different. I started playing with them, so ever since I started hockey, I was with guys pretty much
Okay.
up until high school, and definitely a lot different culture than with girls. Very different, but I was on two boys teams when I was in Czech. The one that I started playing hockey, like that group of guys in my um, hometown was it was nice because I was with them pretty much since all of us started playing. So we were a lot younger. We were really close. So that was good. There was some difficulties being a girl, definitely, but at that time and when we were this young, like it wasn't that bad. I was also the only girl at school with them in a class, which at that time it was like, well, it's still in Czech. It's not very typical to have like a hockey class. That was kind of special in one of the schools I went to, but you don't really have like athletics and school together like you do in the States. So that's a lot different here too. But yeah, so that was that. And then I moved to Prague to play because my family moved. So I started playing there, and I think that was like fifth or sixth grade, and that was definitely a lot more challenging, kind of going into a new team full of
Yeah.
boys, being the only girl. So
Mhm.
at times I was not a fan of it, but just the love for the sport was what drove me forward. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know like a friend of mine, she actually played. So at our school, there isn't a girls hockey team either, and she played on the boys team. And like I
Mhm.
know she like sometimes like a lot of the guys like bullied her, like said some stuff. So it's really cool to see that you like kind of, fought through that
Yeah.
and played in an unfamiliar environment that, usually a lot of guys
Yeah.
don't have to deal with.
Yeah, it
Um,
was it was tough at times, but it's good now. Like I'm 22 and I come home for the summer and I see a lot of them now and I play with them just
yeah,
like
that's awesome.
scrimmages or fun open hockey and we're all good. So it was just the age, like the awkward age.
Yeah. Was there any like anything that like kind of mental strategies or anything that like kind of got you through when things got tough? Because I'm guessing like when you're with a lot of guys, like it's a lot hard to like kind of have a stronger social support system because like you can't really like lean on them for problems because then you might be like um I don't know, like criticized against, or did you not experience that? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, I definitely kind of had to put on like a face of
Yeah.
being more like a boy, I'd say. So I definitely tried to avoid any type of like girly stuff that I would do. And whenever I had to like, I don't know, I was upset about something that happened like at practice or something, I would leave it for home and I talked to my mom about it. And when I was at the rink, I tried to be more tough, I guess, to just kind of be like, yeah, don't mess with me.
Yeah.
But it was hard. It's hard because it's like, you still like have stuff it's like different. You have different mentality than guys,
Yeah.
especially that age too. So,
Do you
but
think like
no,
sorry,
sorry,
go
go on.
ahead.
No, go
Um,
ahead, you go.
I was just wondering, like, do you think talking to your mom for all those like mental problems or like, like those roadblocks helped you, or would you have rather like leaned on your teammates more?
Um, at that time when I was this young, I was happy that I could talk to my mom about it and my family.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I maybe it's just because I was literally surrounded by guys and I knew that I'm not gonna get any empathy from them.
Yeah.
But there were some good times. Like I would make jokes with them all the time and stuff. So it wasn't all bad, not at all. But definitely being older and more independent now that I play with girls, whenever I have any type of issue with, I don't know, anything like my personal problems or something, I love to have my teammates I can rely on, and they're definitely a lot more on the same page as me with that. So
Yeah, I mean that's awesome that you can connect now because like that's the beauty of team sports. Like you always have like your teammates to lean on, like kind of they're your friends and your teammates. And I used to play basketball competitively, and I really feel like that was the best part of the sport. Just making
Mhm.
friendships and like keeping them. So yeah, totally
Yeah,
agree.
exactly. Yeah.
Can you talk to us about like playing against different countries? It's like really cool to me because like it's almost like the Olympics. Like you have your um a team of people that are all similar to you and you versus other teams. Yeah, do you mind talking about that?
Yeah. Trying to think, but well, you have this is a good question. You kind of like in those international games, you kind of know what to expect from each country.
Mhm.
For example, whenever we play against, I'll say like Team Japan, kind of like a characteristic of their team is they're really fast. And so you got to be like, and like they're very disciplined, very fast and disciplined. So you kind of like prepare for that, you know? And then if you play other teams, like, for example, we played Team USA for the first time at the Olympics now since, I think this was the first time I ever played them, since I played for the women's Olympic team. And that was, we didn't really know what to expect, but from watching them playing other teams, it's like you can tell they're big, skilled, and physical, and fast too. So it's like you once you start playing those teams, you kind of realize their different characteristics, and it's very cool. But you definitely have to kind of keep it in mind to play them and know what to expect. Yeah.
Interesting. That's where like scouting, right? And doing your homework, like knowing what the
Oh,
team's like
yeah.
strengths and weaknesses are.
There's definitely a lot of like pre-scout of the games and the other teams in play that a lot of people don't see. That's kind of behind the scenes
Yeah.
of the hockey games. But all of that, it's actually a lot of video, a lot of just kind of different strategy and figuring stuff out. So it's really cool. That's another thing I really like about hockey.
So do you like watch a lot of film with your team and like individually?
Yeah, it's very big. I usually try to I do it sometimes I do it on my own, like I watch my own shifts. And I also like to meet with my coach and talk about like my personal shifts with them and what they see, what I could be doing differently. So going kind of looking at that is what's happening a lot. And then you obviously have like full team together and you do video of the full team, either watching us what we could be doing better or what we're doing well and stuff like that, and then also watching the other team and being like, okay, this is what we need to prepare for when we play them.
Yeah. Wow, interesting. Yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
um, I know like a lot of like really good teams, even at the high school level, like my basketball team, like they watch a lot of film. Um, and sometimes like my like friends, they like kind of complain about it because it's not like really like on the court, like practicing, you're just like sitting and watching.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you like watching film or like do you think it's like really beneficial or just your general thoughts? I mean, I'm glad we're on this topic because I don't really talk about this, but I think it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty interesting and I think it's really like a necessity to a good team, like kind of doing your
Yeah.
homework and like analyzing your opponent so that you can get better better tactics and strategies
Mm-hmm.
going into the game.
Yeah, no, this is a really good topic. I like talking about this. I honestly personally think doing video is crucial to wanting to either you as yourself be a better athlete, but
Mhm.
also as a whole team. Like if you're watching video, you sometimes when you play, you're on the ice, you don't realize that maybe there you have more space than you think, or somebody else is coming down on the other side and you don't see them. And then you watch the video and you see everything from like up from that point of view. And you're like, wow, I could have done that. There was another time to do this. There was like I had more time to maybe take another step and then shoot or something. Um, and I actually hated watching video of me or of my games when I was younger. And now it's like I like know I need it and I do
Yeah,
it on my own time and I like love it. So yeah, I hope that
gotcha.
answers. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Yeah, I mean, personally, I used to watch a little bit of video myself, and I really like it. Like, you can kind of feel like it's a waste of your time. Like, oh, you already like know what you did wrong. Like, why watch it again? There's a lot of
Hmm.
like intricacies and like details that you don't pick up, like
Yeah.
when you're watching. So, like, I think it's just really beneficial, and I really advise like young athletes to, try to get like a parent to like video film something if you don't have
Hmm.
like, I don't know, someone else on your team dedicated to that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Um,
I just if I can just kind of add up on that,
yeah,
but
go ahead.
I definitely agree. And I wish when I was younger, I would, because my dad would always come to my games and videotape my games. And then my mom would be like, all right, let's sit down and watch it. And I hated it because I hated like watching what I did wrong.
Yeah.
But I actually wish that when I was younger, I'd actually sit down and watch. And I know it's hard because you're younger and you're like, I want to do other things,
Yeah.
whatever. But I think it would actually help me a lot from younger if I started doing that earlier. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Um, Another thing I wanted to touch on was that I saw that you major in psychological and brain sciences and writing. That's really cool to me because I want to major in psych. And I mean, you're in sports, that's like sports and psychology. So talk to me about that
Yeah.
major. What have you learned at Colgate studying that and like kind of like your general education with that?
Yeah. I since high school I kind of knew I never took a psych class in high school. But I was like, oh, it's kind of interesting. I was thinking when I want to major when I get to
Mhm.
Colgate, because I was unsure, but psych was always in the back of my head. And I have to say now, after graduating, like it was the best decision I made to major in psych because it's so relevant to everything you do. It's like literally sports or just regular life. Like you
Yeah.
can apply it in any situation, really. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to take any sports psychology classes, which I think would be really interesting, but Colgate didn't offer any. But I did take a bunch of other interesting, like sleep psychology or addiction. And I know that's not really relevant to sports, but
Mhm.
well, I guess it kind of is.
It can be, yeah.
Could be. Um, but I absolutely I loved it, and I think even subconsciously, like I think I took a lot from all of those classes that I tried to apply on the ice and off the ice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool to have like a class that like you kind of apply to your real life, like just immediately. Like you go to class, you have a game the next day, try to apply something
Hmm.
from there. So that's really cool.
Hmm.
Is there any like concept or like class or lesson or takeaway that you took away from any of your classes in that major that you'd like to share, you think would be like helpful?
I really like my sleep psychology class, and there was a little segment on like sleep and sports. And one of the articles we read was pretty much demonstrating how important sleep is, because I know a lot of athletes, like we keep repeating it. It's always like you need, good balance of like food, but you also need good sleep to practice. But it's still, I think, very it's not talked about enough how important sleep is. And anyways, this article pretty much talked about how like the longer you sleep and the better sleep quality you have, the more accuracy you have. It was in basketball players like shooting hoops,
Mhm.
and I think that was really interesting. And so you just kind of take like bits and pieces away from different classes, but this one, it was really cool. I really liked it, and it kind of reminded me how I really need to make sure I get good night's sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think especially at the young age, like a lot of young athletes think that like, oh, like you're young, you don't really need to go to sleep, you have so much energy, but it's actually like so important when you're young because it makes you grow and makes you have energy and
Oh yeah.
it's just like good for your mind as a whole. So
Oh
really
yeah.
important
I
point. I
agree.
like that you bring that up. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um Another question I know we want to talk about is balancing school and sports. Like, how did you balance that? Like, I'm sure you had to travel for Czech, and travel for Colgate, and then you also have to like keep on top of your studies. Like, do you have any tips on that? And kind of just talk to us about your, general approach with that.
Yeah. Um, that's a good question. It's honestly the first semester mostly of college, it was very difficult for me to just kind of adapt to playing Division 1 and traveling with the team. I would be leaving Thursdays, coming back Sundays at like 1 in the morning, and
Oh,
then
wow.
you barely got any time to rest, and you have to do your
Yeah.
homework and catch up on what you missed. So it's pretty difficult, but once you start kind of going into it, like it becomes a routine, and then you get used to it, and you realize how to just manage your time a lot better. So you either start your homework earlier, or like you're like, okay, I have this due that day, so like maybe I'll finish it after I come back or something. So you got to be really good at organizing, and definitely getting a diary and writing everything down. That definitely helps too, to kind of keep you organized. Um, and yeah, oh my god, I was about to say something else and I just completely lost it.
No worries.
Um, that's awkward. Sorry.
No, you're good. I'll just ask a
Oh,
question.
actually, I
I'll
it
go for
just
it.
came
Go for
back
it.
to me.
Yeah.
Actually, sorry. But I definitely have to say, like, it's not easy, and before you do get used to it, it's easy to just kind of not do as great in school, or you get less sleep or something. And I think that's perfectly normal because you don't really know how to do it yet. So you just kind of experiment. You're like, all right, this doesn't work for me. I have to do this better. And then you just kind of get into it. So don't be hard on yourself, you know.
Yeah, that's an
Yeah.
important point. Like everybody's different, and you got to figure out like what works for you. Like especially for like
Yeah.
sports psychology techniques in general. Like maybe like this certain breathing technique doesn't work for you, so you could try another one, or just not even try out any at all. So I think that's important because like every single technique's not gonna work for everybody. You have to
Yeah.
really like mold it into yourself and just try it out, trial and error. So
Oh,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Do you think balancing school and sports at the college level was easier than balancing school and sports at the high school level?
Yeah. For me, definitely. Um, for high school, I went to a boarding school in the States, and that for me was like I still felt like I was in the same boat with pretty much everybody else because everybody had to do some kind of curriculum after school, whether it was a sport or arts or something. And so I think just the way school was like set up by the school, like schoolwork was set up by the school, was to make sure that we get to handle it. Meanwhile, in college, you have athletes and then you have students that don't do any sports and
Yeah.
are literally a full-time student. And that's when professors, they're just kind of like, it's on your own. You have to make sure you're your own person. So if you're doing sports, you signed up for it, so you got to be ready for class
Yeah.
too. So that's when it's more difficult because you're older, you're an adult pretty much at that time, so you got to figure it out yourself. Yeah.
Gotcha. Also,
Mhm.
isn't a boarding school like at the high school level kind of similar to college because you're kind of away and you're kind of like not at home? Or did you think like that transition from like a boarding school to college was easier? Because sometimes I know like a bunch of my older friends like transitioning from like a high school that was 5 minutes away from their house to a college across the country was really hard for
Mhm.
them.
Yeah, I agree. Well, for me, the way I compare it is when I came from Czech to the boarding school, I was like
Oh,
lost, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
So for me, that was almost like transition most
That
kids
makes sense.
have from high school to college.
Yeah.
So I kind of experienced it at that time. And then I got used to being on my own. And you still have so many people around you in high school and boarding school that are there to help you if you need anything. But you still, you become more independent and on your own. So then the transition from boarding school to college wasn't as bad for me, even with being homesick or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really good.
Interesting. How was that
Mhm.
transition from Czech to the boarding school? Like, did it affect you mentally and did it affect your playing on the field?
Um, I think it did, mostly in a positive way
Oh, interesting.
because yeah, I used to travel to the States a lot when I was younger with my family, and I loved the States, and it was always my dream to go play and study in either college or high school in the States. Um, and so when I did, I was like super excited to be there.
Yeah.
And I did struggle with language a bit, especially with school, but hockey, I picked that up like so fast. It was for me, I just felt a lot like happier being there. And I think that reflected on the ice too. I was like very confident and happy. And I think it showed that's how I played too. Yeah.
Gotcha. Do you have any personal experiences on the ice or in life really that you think would be cool to highlight? Maybe it's an achievement or something like adversity that you've overcame or anything that you think would be cool for the listeners to know about?
Um, I think just in general, like some people could look at one person's journey and be like, oh, this person, like she just graduated Colgate University playing D1 hockey for 4 years and went to the Olympics. Like, wow, good for her or something. But a lot of people don't realize there's actually so many challenges behind it. And a lot of it actually started like when I started playing. So, because, playing with the boys, the parents there were not always very nice
Yeah.
to the only girl playing. Same with coaches, and but so you have a bunch of challenges. Then you get to college from being like having a really good high school career. You get to college where everybody else around you is really good. So now you have to adapt to playing with the best like high school players that used to be the best high school players. So you got to find like that balance, which isn't always the easiest too. And same with like the national team, you start like as a rookie, you have to clean the water bottles or something and
Yeah.
make sure the locker room is clean, and then you just kind of
Move your
it's
way
like
up.
a slow process, and it's so much fun. Don't get me wrong, so much fun, but also there's a lot of like stress and pressure that goes into it as well. So it's not only like the best thing on earth, but it's definitely like at the end of the day, my journey like so far has been so worth everything I've been through. It's a great experience. Yeah.
Yeah, sports teaches so many lessons, and like it just really builds like everybody's experiences, and everybody that is an athlete I think can attest to that. So totally agree.
Definitely.
Um,
Mhm.
do you have any advice for girls that are on all boys teams? Like I know it could be really discouraging sometimes, maybe like when you get like those comments, like, and maybe you might want to quit or something. So since you've been there,
Mhm.
like, do you have any firsthand advice for people in that same boat?
Yeah. First, I'd say if you don't feel like you got the support from your teammates, try to surround yourself with people that can give you that support, whether it's family or your friends outside of hockey. I know it could be challenging, very challenging, but you got to realize why you're doing it, that it's for the love of the sport.
Yeah.
Um, and if that's enough to keep you going, then be it. You'll get through it. It's going to get better. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. I think it's really simple and short, but I think it like gets the point across. Because
Yeah.
like sports, you should be playing it because you love it, not for like the fame or the money. Those
Hmm.
are like good ads on and perks, but I think like
Yeah,
it'll take you far, really far if you just play because you love it. So that's like intrinsic
exactly.
motivation. So yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any future plans for yourself? Like any goals that you want to hit in the future in 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah. Right now I'm looking to actually play another year of college at Providence. So just kind of I'm having that as like a more like a short term, I guess, goal. It should be
Okay.
done in a year. And then one of like my bigger plans or goals, I guess, is to keep playing for the next 4 years and make it to the Olympics in 2026 again.
Awesome. Best of luck for you to that. Yeah,
Thank
that was
you.
like my last question, but is there any final words you'd like to
Perfect.
end off with, or with anything that you wanted to just get a point across?
Um, no, just I don't know if you're any hockey player out there, younger, older, girl, boy, whatever, like I don't know, if you need help with anything, you can reach out to me through like Instagram or something if you have any questions or yeah, I love to just kind of help like the development of hockey and girls hockey, and so if I could help in any way, yeah, let me know.
Yeah, I'll definitely note your social media links in our description. Thanks so
Perfect.
much for joining me. It was really cool to learn about ice hockey and just learn about,
Cool.
your experiences as a whole. It's really cool to see someone that, has played internationally and even in the US. So super unique experience. Thanks
Cool.
so much.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the My Design Sports podcast. Before you leave, please show some love for the podcast by subscribing, liking, and commenting. Stay tuned for next month's podcast with a new guest speaker.